What is up, all you miners out there? Let me know if you can hear me. Let me get a 10 in chat. I've been talking to myself for about the last 3 minutes. Forgot to hit the go live button. I'm going to do a little audio test here on my end, so bear with me just a second. Alright, you guys should be able to hear me. We got 8 people in right now. Offshore Miner, what's up, my dude? Thank you for stopping by. I'm going to leave this up for just a minute so that you guys can take a look at all these different coins here. We've got Ergo, Flux, Zell, BTG, Chlor, Raven, Conflux, Dynex, Ironfish, Carlson, Pyron, Nexa, Neoxa, Xano. There's probably several that I'm missing, so we'll take a look at what we've got here at hashrate.no, but we're going to go category by category here. So we'll start out with GPU mineable coins, then we're going to move on to ASIC mineable coins, and then CPU mineable coins. Red Panda, what's up, my friend? Thank you for being here, brother. I appreciate you. So if you guys want to add some coins to this list, just throw them down in chat and I will check them out. We'll add it to the list before we get started, but we're going to take a look at all these different coins compared to one another, and we'll also kind of break it down by time frame here. So we're looking at the daily right now, and you can see, like, take for example this one here in pink, which would be Xano, outperforming everything in the near term. But you know, you zoom out, Xano's not doing that great compared to, I think this would be Chlor, but obviously zooming in, Chlor is not doing great compared to Xano. So it all depends on what time frame we're looking at. We'll probably switch to the weekly chart too, but I'm sure there's several coins that I'm missing here. So if you guys see ones that I'm missing, please let me know. Iotapai, what's up, my friend? No mod status for you. Let me see if I can fix that real quick. I can ban you. How about that one? No, we don't want to ban, do we? Add as moderator. There we go. You are modded, sir. Panda, let's go ahead and mod you. Done. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. So zooming out on this chart here, Chlor is a huge standout. It had a massive run up compared to all the rest, but you know, it's just been bleeding ever since roughly about March of this year. And I really want to take a look at all these coins compared to one another to give you guys an idea of maybe what you should be holding. You know, now probably isn't the greatest time to be swapping things around, but you know, I've always kind of looked at this as just going to hodl whatever I mine, because I never know what's going to take off in the future. But as time has progressed here, I think when you start looking at stuff like this, it starts to become a little bit more apparent what is going to outperform the rest of them. We've probably got too many in this comparison here, but they're color coded, so you know, just pay attention to the colors and you can figure out things pretty quickly. But if you guys have questions, just let me know. Red Panda wants to know if Chlor has bottomed. Oh man. Well, I heard somebody say they're switching to proof of stake, so if that is true, which I don't know why it would be, but if that is true, I don't know, maybe they didn't bottom. Zach Eberly says probably a good buy-in. It may be. It may be. And that's another thing to consider when we're looking at these charts. So, you know, take a look at Xano here. Xano is outperforming everything right at the moment, but you know, if you swapped all your coins to this right now and then it tanks, you know, that was a pretty bad decision. But I think what we're really wanting to look at here is more or less the trends of where coins are going, not necessarily what they're doing right at this very second. Because you know, you take for example, let's go ahead and switch over to the ASIC coins. So you know, looking at this, you would say Caspa is just outperforming everything. But once you start zooming in here, this purple line is Radiant. And, you know, if you switched everything to Radiant right now, you could lose half your funds overnight. You don't know. So you don't necessarily want to go with what's pumping right at this second, but you do really want to pay attention to the trends. So, for example, the red one here is ALF. It was on a pretty significant downtrend until we got the release of some ASICs, and the uptrend is starting to find areas of support. So, you know, this chart could turn around and start to head the other direction. It does look like the trend is changing. And then you take a look at this one here, which would be Octa. Octa's charts looked really good. Let's go ahead and hide Alephium here for a second and just kind of compare the rest of these. So let's go ahead and hide Caspa too. So now we're just comparing Radiant, Octa, Litecoin, Dogecoin, and Ethereum Classic. And if you had to bet on one of these horses here, you know, you'd probably say everything looked like it's kind of in a downtrend at the moment, but you know, Caspa is definitely, or excuse me, not Caspa, Octa has definitely been outperform everything. Zach Everly wants to know if I sold any of my RXD. So I made a trade on RXD right about the time that we assumed ASICs were going to be released. So we got the announcement from RXD saying that they were going to go public. I went ahead and bought a pretty significant chunk of Radiant at that point. Then we did get the announcement as to who was behind it, which in this case would be Dragon Ball. And after we had that nice little pump, I did sell what I put in as a trade, but I missed out on the opportunity to go a little bit higher, obviously, whenever Ice River came into the game. And it's still looking really good after that. Let's go ahead and take a look at Radiant on the 4-hour chart here. So, yeah, roughly about right here is where I sold that bag of Radiant that I bought. And I was thinking about buying back in right here, but yeah, made a mistake. I did not. And right here would be about the time that we got the announcement from Ice River. So yeah, I missed out on a considerable amount here. So from about where I sold to where it's at right now, it's another 56%. Now the big question is Bitmain going to jump in the game? That I don't know. You know, I'd be speculating if I said that I thought they would or they wouldn't, but I think we'll probably find out pretty soon. I'm going to catch up with chat here. Bear with me. Zach says it double peaked. Yeah, it did double peak. The big question is, what does it do from here? So now we know that we've got two manufacturers in the game. If I were to guess, I would say we probably see a retrace about 30-40%. We may even come all the way back down to where we were here. But if Bitmain jumps in, then yeah, I think we'd be off to the races again. And you know, as far as seeing new all-time highs for Radiant, we've got to go back to November-ish of 2023. You know what, let's go ahead and hide everything on here but Radiant. is this one? That's Radiant. This is Okta. Okay, so we're just taking a look at Radiant. Let's go ahead and zoom out. We're going to switch to, let's go the daily. TradingView doesn't have the entire chart, unfortunately. It sucks because TradingView doesn't start putting things in here until usually after CoinMarketCap lists it, so we're just going to have to go off of what we got here. But this was back in April of 2023, just been on a downtrend. What I'm really looking for is to see Radiant break this area of resistance here. So if we can get past this area right here, and we've got, let's take a little measurement and see how far we got to go. So that's about 58% from where we're at right now, which is totally doable in my opinion. That's not going to happen overnight, but, well, it could happen overnight, but I wouldn't expect it to happen overnight. Kind of looks like we just jumped right into ASIC coins. I was going to do GPU mineable coins first, but while we're still here on ASICs, let's go ahead and make these visible again. I want to hear from you guys down in chat. Out of the coins that we see listed here, so we got Caspa, Radiant, Okta, Litecoin, Alephium, Dogecoin, Ethereum Classic. What is your favorite coin as far as price appreciation potential in this list? And if I don't have it in this list, let me know what is it and we'll add it. Otopi says it's going to go really, really fast. Needs some consolidation. I agree. I think, you know, if we were going to consolidate after these two announcements, now would be the time. What I'd like to see happen is a little bit of consolidation in between now and the Fed rate cuts. And then perhaps we can start pushing to those upper levels and retest that area of resistance. Zach Aberley says, Caspa probably. Well, you know, Caspa would be my choice, but if you guys ever watch any Eric Crown Crypto, he basically called the top here. He said this is starting to look pretty top heavy. And over the last couple of weeks, you know, he's been analyzing this here, and here's what we need from Caspa. We need KRC20 launched. We need additional exchange listings, and we need 10 blocks per second. Once we hit those three things, then I think we can resume the trend that we were in. But until those things come, I just don't know if we're going to get back to these levels again for a while. In fact, let's go ahead and pull some fibs here. So if we go down to the bottom of that, you know, if you want to know what Caspa is capable of, oops, sorry guys, I'm not a huge charter, so bear with me. Okay, so going back to Caspa here for a second. Let's take it off of this one. So before we started to hit this downtrend, my expectation was that we were going to hit around 23 cents. But that got cut a little bit short, in my opinion. I think, you know, macroeconomic news really started to affect the picture long term here. And then, you know, take into account that we kind of lost it when we had the failure of KRC20 launch. I think that was pretty detrimental. I think we would have easily probably hit that 23 cent and maybe even got up to around 30 cents before having a pretty significant pullback. But as you can see, I mean, we're bouncing right off of this fib extension here at the 0.5. So if we can hold this, we may be okay, but honestly, I'm kind of looking for something around here, which would be about the 12-cent mark or so. I mean, maybe we can hold it, maybe not. I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see. Keith, I appreciate it, man. It was nice. I wish I could have wish I could have extended that trade a little bit further, but you know, I still have a pretty significant bag of Radiant that I plan on keeping for, I don't know, at least until we get into a significant bull run, some peak euphoria, then maybe time to let it go. But for right now, yeah, we'll just see what happens. Audipie says, Zealous is faster than Caspa. It needs smart contract and tokens. RxD has that too. We need developers to build utility. For sure. You know, from what I understand, I've done a couple of interviews with the guys from the Radiant team, and the tool sets are there. It's just the amount of developers that they have isn't quite what we have on some of the other projects. So now that we've got a little bit of awareness with the release of the ASICs, you know, as far as developing on Radiant UTXO model, this shouldn't be too difficult for people who have been in the space for a while. So things could take off pretty quickly for Radiant. But, you know, you got half the community that's disgruntled because of the way things transitioned with ASICs, and then you've got diehard loyalists that, you know, expect great things. So it's kind of a mixed bag, you know. I don't know what's going to happen from here, but I will definitely be paying very close attention. Anyways, let's switch back over to GPU mineable coins for a minute here. So again, Chlor looks amazing when we zoom out on this chart. Next up, we've got Dynex still holding up pretty well. But as we start zooming in here, so this would be Zealous. Just recently has become available on CoinMarketCap, or excuse me, on TradingView. So not a whole lot of data there. But all of these coins pretty much look like they're in a downtrend, with the one exception here, which is going to be, what is this? Xano. And I don't know much about Xano. I know it's a privacy coin. I don't know what exactly has transpired in the last couple of weeks, but it's been doing quite well. It's got a significant pullback here over the last week, but you know, from roughly around June until about last week, that's a 200% move, and no other coin on this list has done that. But it may be time for a significant pullback. I don't know. What do you guys think about Xano? Is there anybody here in chat that knows much about it? I know it's been around a while. In fact, let's go ahead and pull up Xano's history here. See how far back CoinMarketCap has had this coin. So January 27th, 2020. So this coin's been around almost 5 years, and from November of 21 until October, November of 2023, this really didn't do much at all. And you see this gigantic spike here. That took place sometime in November of last year. So I don't know, maybe we could go back and look at the news to figure out what transpired there. But it was almost like a stable coin for several months. So from August through November of 2023, I mean, there wasn't much change in price at all. Sadie, what's up? Good to see you. Thank you for joining. If you're just catching up, we're looking at GPU mineable coins, ASIC mineable coins, and CPU mineable coins. But unfortunately, CPU mineable coins, There's not a whole lot that I can add here in TradingView. Let's go ahead and take a look at the list here. So I can't add Varus, I can't add Quantum, and I can't add Salvium. And I know there's a lot of CPU mineable coins out there. It's just TradingView does not give us many options. Sadie, no typing and driving. I hope you're using hands-free. I don't know how you would do that while you're in chat, but all right, so let's zoom in on some CPU mineable coins here. So the green one is Zephyr. The blue one is going to be, what is that? Raptorium? Yeah. Then we got Cubic in purple. And of course XMR. XMR has actually outperformed everything since June, or actually May, which is kind of surprising, actually. You know, if I were a betting man and I was looking at these 4 particular coins, I'd probably be putting my money on XMR. Gotta add Raptorium if possible. I think that is possible. Let's see here. Did we not already have that? Yeah, we had that in there. Yeah, it's already in there. Yeah, Zephyr, I don't know what happened. I had great hopes for Zephyr. At one point I felt like, okay, maybe this is just a privacy coin issue. I mean, it's extremely difficult for privacy coins to get listed on major exchanges because of the KYC requirements and whatnot. And, you know, going forward, a privacy coin, it's gonna have some significant hurdles to overcome. But at the same time, there's a lot of dark money that moves money around, and privacy coins will move. And then we also have decentralized exchanges. So it's not like privacy coins can't perform. It's just they're, I don't know, they're somewhat disabled. They're handicapped compared to the potential of other coins, in my opinion. But again, that doesn't mean that they can't move up. We got 41 people in chat. Thank you guys all for being here. Let me know if there's any particular matchups that you want to take a look at. So if you want me to compare, let's say, Alephium and Caspa, that would be a good comparison. So let's get rid of this fib. All right, so we're going to zoom all the way out. As you can see, Caspa just dominating Alephium. But we start zooming in here, you start to see a difference. You know, going back to November of 2023, that's when Alephium is starting to outperform Caspa. If we zoom in a little bit further, so this is going back to March when most things kind of hit their peak. Alephium has been bleeding against Caspa, but Caspa's taken a pretty significant hit starting at about the end of July. So right at the beginning of August, you know, that was basically when we had the Japanese yen carry trade issue, which, by the way, guys, is not necessarily over. There's still a lot to be concerned about there. I'm hoping that we can get past it without any major problems, but that is definitely something to keep in the back of your mind. I'm going to catch up on chat. Bear with me. Yeah, I would love to add Spectre in here. I don't know if I can, though. It's pretty new. Let's see here. SPR tether. I don't think that's the right one. If it's a small chart, we know we got the right one. I don't even see it on here. Nope, I got nothing for you. Sorry. Zealous can handle more TPS, but not faster in confirmation speed compared to Caspa. I tell you what, if you guys haven't really done the deep dive into Zealous, which, you know what, actually I'd really like to get them on the show. I think there's a lot going on there that a lot of people are not aware of. And I really like the fact that, you know, we've got CPUs, GPUs, I believe there's some FPGAs out there, but everything's on a pretty even scale. And that's what I like to see. I also like to see something like Warthog, where you've got to have a combination of a CPU and a GPU to really get some efficiency. And, you know, everything just seems to be switching to ASIC these days. But, I mean, shit, can you blame them? Look what's happening to RXD right now. I mean, and the community was very disgruntled by everything that was going on. But, you know, it's like everybody suddenly has amnesia. You know, now that ASICs are in the game, yeah, things are going quite well. We've got, yeah, about a 200% move out of it in a very, very short time frame, roughly a couple of days. So it doesn't take much, but, you know, what's going to happen in the long term, that I don't know. But honestly, I do kind of see this as a turning point for Radiant. I hope that they continue to do well. So CoinGecko or CoinPaprika for SPR chart. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Zoom out a little bit here. Oh, taking a little bit of a dip today, down almost 12%. Let's zoom out. 7-day, the monthly, 90 days. That's a year. Looks like the chart goes all the way back to July 9th. Put it on log scale. Doesn't make much of a difference here. So we had a pretty significant pump around August 16th. Pulled back around the 22nd. You know what? Let's take a look at a couple of other things actually. So let's take a look at the total crypto market cap. Come on, TradingView, you can do this. I don't know if it's TradingView, it might be me. I've got like 35 windows open right now. Psycho says, Zephyr is a closed source privacy coin with a stable coin. Hard to get any traction on any decent exchange. Yeah, but there are plenty of decentralized exchanges, right? Alright, so we're going to throw on the RSI here. And let's take a look at the weekly. So a couple things to be aware of when looking at the total crypto market cap. So number one, very likely we come down and test the bottom side of the RSI. That would not surprise me at all, which means we probably have a significant ways down before we turn around and start to head back the other direction. And another thing to consider is the total crypto market did not revisit its previous all-time high. We didn't quite make it there. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit further. So we're probably down, I'd say around 20% or so from peak. Roughly about 14%. And that doesn't take into account inflation. If you adjusted this for inflation, we're probably down 20-25% from all-time highs. So, you know, if you're looking at this move as a potential bull run that fizzled out before it got to its all-time high, yeah, maybe, but I don't think we got to our all-time high. I think what we're really looking at is something more like this. It's just skewed because of the amount of money that was printed, plus we actually got ETFs for Bitcoin. And so we saw a lot of appreciation. Plus, there's a lot of smart people in the game. Do not shit yourself. I personally feel like this run-up that we've had since Ethereum spot ETF was approved really was, just kind of using retail as exit liquidity, knowing that the macroeconomic situation was going to continue to deteriorate. And here we are. I really hoped that we could have held out a little bit longer, but the Japanese yen carry trade I think it really kind of popped the bubble a little bit early. I think something like that wasn't supposed to break until right before the elections, maybe right after the elections, maybe first Fed rate cuts. I don't know, but it seemed like it happened a little bit prematurely. And I don't think that they can continue to fudge the numbers as hard as they have. DJ Mine's in the house. What's up? 22. Sadie, it feels good to stream. It has been a while. I would say I've been super busy, but honestly, business has been a little bit slow, so I've had quite a bit of free time. But, I really didn't have a whole lot of positive things to say over the course of the summer. I don't know if you guys paid attention to me in Discord or some of the tweets that I was putting out, but I started taking profits back in March. And a lot of the mining that I was doing at the time was either going to USDT or it was going into Caspa. I was just kind of hedging my bets, but I'm probably more than 50% out of the market right now, just kind of waiting. My anticipation right now is that we have probably a pretty significant scam wick coming in the next 5 days. That's really going to shock people, maybe shake a lot of, retail that's still holding on out. And then at that point, we might get, I don't know if it's going to be a quarter point rate drop or a half point, but I think we do see a significant bounce after they announce rate cuts. But, if we take a look at what has happened after that initial euphoria after the announcement, it typically is bad news bears from there. It starts to look pretty ugly after about 30 days. You know what? There is a guy that has some pretty good charts that shows all of these things. I'm not subscribed to his channel, so I don't know if I'm going to find it, but if I can find it, this will be very eye-opening for some of you guys. I don't know if you're a bull, if you're a bear, if you think Trump's going to get elected and then we're just going to go screaming towards all-time highs again. But I'm of the opinion that it doesn't really matter who wins the election. I think most likely what we're looking at is temporary relief followed by a cascade of problems that have been building for years. But, I'm just some guy on the internet. I don't know shit, so not financial advice. LG says we could also go sideways for a while. And I'm kind of that mindset too. And here's the reason I say that. Because with the release of spot ETFs and presidential candidates kind of running on crypto, I kind of feel like if the macroeconomic situation wasn't so dire, then we could have a super cycle, right? It feels like it could be time. So maybe we're in the midst of a muted super cycle right now, and we do exactly what LG's stating, and that's that we just simply go sideways. Maybe we trend down, maybe we trend slightly up over the course of the next 4 months or so. I don't know. Nothing would surprise me at this point, but I can tell you this. I don't think that if the current administration doesn't continue to stay in power, they really don't have any reason to try and make things look good anymore. So I wouldn't expect them to continue to have to continuously revise the numbers, right? Every single revision is a downward revision. And, if you look at the job numbers from the course of the year, they downwardly revised them 818,000, which is the second largest downward revision in history. The last one was about 15 years ago. But, if there was an occasional revision upwards and then some down, it wouldn't feel as though all of this was intentional. Bacon, Eggs, and Hash, what's up, dude? He says BlackRock is playing both sides. It won't matter who wins. Well, yeah, of course. And, one thing to consider is, everybody looks at BlackRock as the entity that has all the money and making all the decisions. But one thing you have to keep in mind is all of BlackRock's money is someone else's money. I mean, they're managing portfolios. So, as far as things going up or things going down, they make money regardless. They're making money on the fees, right? But I do think that there is certainly a long-term vision that they have. They've been playing the long game for quite a while. I think that's apparent. All right, I'm not seeing the video that I'm looking for here, so we're just going to go back to charts. But, actually, we could take a look at the Fed Watch tool right now. Looks like expected rates are going to come somewhere between 1/4 and 0.5%, but they're leaning. Looks like they're leaning more towards 0.5%. And I want to hear from you guys in chat. What do you think happens if we do get a 0.5 basis point rate cut? Are we looking at extreme euphoria? Is everybody going to be happy that the Fed has cut that much, or are they going to realize that, oh shit, the Fed has waited too long and now they're going to have to play catch up and things aren't as rosy as they would like them to appear? Geek of all trades, what's up, my friend? He says, we are all effed. Doesn't matter, just keep your eyes on the prize and do what you can to keep you and your loved ones safe. Hug someone you love today. Yes, absolutely. There may not be a tomorrow. Yeah, I love you guys, but family comes first, right? You have to do what you have to do to make sure that you and your immediate family are taken care of. Zach Eberly wants to know, could you explain what the M2 money is? I saw it in your post on X. So M2, actually we can pull that up in the chart. So there's the global M2 and then there's US M2, okay? Essentially the M2 is the money supply. We're talking about the amount of money in circulation. Let's go all. So we're going to take a look at the United States money supply here. So as you can see, roughly March of 2022 is where we peaked. And then global money supply, or excuse me, the M2 money supply of the United States has trended down. But roughly about October, we've been trending up. So let's zoom in on this a little bit better. So we bottomed here October 30th, 2023. Well, if you go look at the total crypto market cap, you're going to see this is right about the time that crypto started to turn around. So if we get back to these levels here sometime in the near future, crypto market could be just fine. All risk assets could start to pump. The problem is, I don't think we're going to have euphoria until retail is not broke anymore, and that's gonna take a significant amount of time. You know what? Let's go ahead and pull this up. So, household debt. Okay, so we are looking at non-housing debt and housing debt together, and it's at an all-time high. Debt is at the highest rate it has ever been. If you overlay a chart with savings, household savings, and household debt, as well as the monetary supply, you're going to see that basically when they started printing money, when COVID hit, that's when savings went to an all-time high, risk assets go to an all-time high, and basically we're at higher levels of debt now, even though people were paying all of their debt off during the times that we had a lot of money printing going on. So the fact that we're at higher debt levels now than we were pre-pandemic, that tells me that the situation is even worse than the shutdown. And I don't think we've really started to feel the effects of that in the economy. Jobs are starting to take a hit, so job numbers aren't looking too great. But it's kind of a cascading effect. It's gradual and then sudden. Let's take a look at unemployment. I don't know if this chart's worth looking at, or if it's even up to date. You know what? Into the Cryptoverse actually has a pretty good chart for this. I'm not a paid subscriber to this, so I don't know if I can view what I want to view here. Bear with me. A one-time password was requested for this email. However, we could not find an account for you. Okay, so we won't use Into the Cryptoverse. You know what? Let's take a look at Benjamin Cohen's most recent video. This guy he's a data scientist, and I don't know if you guys watch many of his videos, but he's pretty on point. Oh, wrong button. I can't enlarge this. So you can see this little peak. You can't see it because this is in the way, but right about here, job losses are going up. And we do this little thing every single time. When we bottom out, right when we start to go into a recession, unemployment is going up, but then boom, it just skyrockets. Almost every single time we go into a recession. And that is potentially what we're looking at happening right now. Now, last month's numbers, unemployment was at 4.3. This month's just released, it went down a tenth at 4.2. So if this doesn't go parabolic, then we may be okay. The problem is I don't necessarily trust the numbers that they're giving us. Everything that they come out with lately is just, take for example, inflation. The basket of goods that goes into that calculation has been changed multiple times over the last year, and they're not comparing apples to apples anymore. I'm sure you guys are probably aware of this stuff, but in case you're not, if we're comparing buying a steak 4 years ago, a 12-ounce steak 4 years ago, nowadays they're doing weird stuff like, oh, well, people can't afford steak, so instead they're buying this alternative meat, and they throw that into the basket. So we're not comparing apples to apples necessarily anymore. And that's the kind of stuff that's been going on with the job numbers too. So what I do is I look at the revisions that come out typically about a month later. Sometimes you have annual revisions. So for example, when they just said that they downwardly revised 818,000 jobs, that's actually not finalized yet and won't even be finalized until I think February of 2025, maybe January. And it may be even worse than that. So yeah, I take all of these current numbers that are coming out with a grain of salt, but the trend does not look good, And take a look at this also. So this is, I think, the S&P 500 here in blue. And, typically once we go into recession, unemployment goes up, the market goes down. And cryptocurrency is a highly speculative asset class. So if you expect risk assets to be okay, if unemployment does go up to, let's say, 6%, I think you might be in for a surprise. And that's one of the reasons that I'm mostly in stablecoins right now. I say mostly, a little bit more than 50%. I want to see what happens after rate cuts. All right, I'm going to catch up on chat. Son of a Rabbit Panda says, if BlackRock or all financial institutions hold all the Bitcoin in the world forever, doesn't that bring the network to a halt? There will be no BTC for fees. The free float will be only the BTC to mine. It's definitely a concern, right? We don't want the network to be captured. If they hold all of the BTC, then that obviously is an issue. But I think they're smart enough to know essentially what problems they could create by doing such a thing. But I don't know. For all we know, it could be a ploy to, part of the great financial reset, right? They just blow everything up, and then they're forcing us to, please come in, save the day. We'll do whatever you say. We'll trade all of our freedoms, all of our anonymity, and just go with the flow. But as far as them destroying Bitcoin intentionally, I think they want to make money, right? And destroying it is not going to make them any money. But they could also be captured by larger players. We just don't know. Crypto Miner says, when face reveal. So 7,000 subs. Once we get to 7,000, which we're currently at 6,850. So we got about 150 subs to go, and then I will face reveal. I don't know if I'm gonna have a webcam all the time. Honestly, the only reason that I don't face reveal really doesn't have anything to do with me wanting to be anonymous. It just, I don't feel like having to comb my hair or, be presentable every time I want to make a video. It's just more to worry about. Plus, who knows? I might be picking my nose or doing something weird and not realize that I'm on camera, and I don't want to embarrass myself. So we will do a face reveal at some point, but yeah, it's probably not going to be my typical style to be on camera all the time. So back to this again. Looking at the previous recessions and how long they take, from the top of the market to the bottom of the market usually happens sometime in about 6 to 12 months. And let's go take a look at the total crypto market cap again. So currently, from the top to where we are right now, it's 25 bars, 175 days, so 25 weeks roughly. And if we compare that to 2019, we had a very similar move here. I think it was roughly also from the top of the move to the bottom was roughly about 25 weeks. Yeah, exactly 25 weeks, 175 days. So, the big question now is, are we going to go up from here? Do we get a black swan event like COVID, or do we just continue to go sideways here? And I think if we were not in the macroeconomic situation that we're in currently, we could very likely see something like that. September is typically the worst month of the year. And, we could be at the bottom side of this range. And then, maybe we start to move up a little bit higher. You know what? You guys like lines? I'll draw some lines for you. So, if we're lucky, I could see something like that. Maybe we'd hit new all-time highs roughly May of next year if we had considerable amount of sideways action. And I think, if the election goes well and people start to feel good again, then I don't think that the new administration is just going to be handed an economy that's a well-oiled machine with a bow wrapped on it, right? They're just going to hand them a steaming pile of shit to deal with, most likely. And I think the new administration is going to face adversity at every turn. Congress will be in chaos, as it usually is. And to get anything done, it's going to be difficult. But, maybe we can get back to a good place sometime around May. And if that happens, then, we're looking at, let's say, something like this. And maybe we do get a nice euphoric blow off top at the end of 2025 going into 2026. That would be great. But I really kind of doubt it. I hate to say it, but I think what we're probably looking at is something more like this. We come back up, we test these ranges, and then we probably come back down, and we don't start getting back to a new time high sometimes in maybe the third or fourth quarter of 2026. So that's if we're lucky. That's if things don't get as bad as they could potentially get. But I'm just some guy on the internet. I don't know. You guys got any questions? I asked earlier if you had any comparisons you wanted me to do against any coins head to head. I don't think I saw any. Disclosure Kid says, could you look at... I can't read that. Sorry, everything is very small. Bear with me. I'm going to enlarge this for a second. Gary Network? I've never heard of that before. No clue what that is. I could try and Google it. Is this what you're talking about? What's my stance on the situation with Pyron? I like some of the guys that are on the team there at Pyron. I do think it's very brave of them to try and move forward with smart contracts and 10 blocks per second. Obviously, they rushed it. There's no way around it. They hadn't done all the proper testing. And I think it could have been done a lot better. I don't know a whole lot about the devs. I don't know what experience they had from Caspa prior to coming over to Pyron, but it just seems like, if I'm being honest, they're riding the coattails of Caspa. They tried to push forward, and they tripped. They fell, and I don't know where they go from here. Um, I would like to see them be successful. I still have a little bit of Pyron. Um, it's hard for me to say, really. There's so many coins that have made decisions lately that I personally wouldn't have made. Let's go ahead and take a look at Pyron's chart. Let's see here. Pretty sure I got Pyron in here somewhere. There it is. So here's Pyron. Now it's not going to have the entire chart because again we're using TradingView and it only goes back to I think what CoinMarketCap starts tracking. So this is Wednesday, January 30th of 2024. We had from the bottom to the top of this move 848%, and since then we are down roughly about 95%. And you know, this little pump that you see here, this was basically the announcement of 10 blocks per second, and they fumbled, and it's been downhill ever since, and it's probably going to continue the downtrend. I just don't see any way around it, especially in this environment right now. But everything is down, you know, and everything's probably going to continue to go down for a little bit of time. How do I feel about merge mining? I've been doing it with two S19K Pros and with mini Doge. I think we've all been missing out, especially Bitcoin Cash Node. So I'm a huge fan of merge mining. I do feel like a lot of us have been missing the boat. Red Panda Mining just put out a video recently where we feel like some of the pools have been taking advantage of everybody else's hardware and hash rate and not giving them all of the rewards. And I think that's obvious at this point. We need more pools to step up and do the right thing. Unfortunately, you know, incentives will govern the outcome. So we're talking about money here. And until you guys start being vocal and pointing things out, not much is going to change. All Motor says, sold 100% of my Pyron within 10% of that top. Nice, good job. Artist Satoshi. Also, they gave themselves 30 million coins. Yeah, that's another thing to consider. And they're not refunding that, right? It's not going back to the community. Now, I feel like they did deliver on some of the things that they were paying themselves for, so to speak. But they didn't deliver all of them. So I feel like some of that should be burned. And then, you know, when you successfully do what was intended, then perhaps they could mint some more. But you know, there's a lot of speculation going on there. Was it intentional? Was it not intentional? I don't know. I mean, I like to think that no coin would intentionally do something knowing that it's going to rub the community wrong, because you start losing support, and then long term, you know, things start looking pretty terrible. You know, but whether it's intentional or, for lack of a better word, stupidity, neither one of them are good, right? The algo change is also a bug fix, not a big change. You know, so because of the entity, we've got some coins that are not going to change. So, for example, Radiant, they were dead set in their ways. They knew the ASICs were right around the corner, and they stuck with it. No algo change. Then you've got Carlson doing an algo change. you compare the two charts together, and obviously Radiant's doing fantastic. Carlson, not so much. Now Carlson didn't have a whole lot going on prior to that, but let's face it, the ASIC pump is real, and it makes sense. And if you were to ask me, is the pump coming from the manufacturer? Are they propping up the price so that they can sell the ASIC? And in a lot of cases, believe it or not, I'm going to say no. I know you guys probably are not going to agree with this, but I think the majority of the pump comes from us speculating that that's what they're going to do. So, regardless of who's pumping it, it's pumping. And that's typically what happens when you get the release of an ASIC on a network. Satoshi says, the entity, we should say Dragon Ball and Ice River to a lesser extent at this point. Yeah. I know everybody likes the entity, though. It sounds so mysterious. In fact, I think it would be really funny if they were to name one of the ASICs the entity. I think that would be pretty cool, actually. It'd be a good marketing strategy. That's just my opinion. LG says, it is a strategic move to pump price to sell profitable machines. These companies have money. R&D cost to make an ASIC is a lot. For sure. But, and I'm sure Artist Satoshi can answer this. The difference between Bitcoin and Radiant's code is kind of minuscule in a sense, right? When it comes to making an ASIC for it. It's SHA-256, basically double the algorithm. I don't think that there's extreme amount of difficulty compared to some of the more recent algorithms that have come out. But, I don't know. I'm not an expert. The security of the chain is ensured for a long time. I came up with that with GSB in our Discord. At least that's what we called it when we didn't know, and it caught on. And Art says to my question about, how hard is it to make an ASIC? Yeah, it's just double SHA. So, yeah, it's not extremely difficult. There's not a ton of R&D that needs to go into making an ASIC for Radiant. What did catch me off guard a little bit, though, was Ice River jumping into the game so quickly. Right about the time... you know what? Let's go. I'll pull up this tweet. This may take me a minute to find, so bear with me. But basically, I was curious if Ice River had anything to do with the hash rate. So I said it's kind of weird that at the same time the Ice River's hosting was down, the entity was also down on Pyron, Husat, and Radiant all at the same time. And I think once we got the announcement that the entity was in fact Dragon Ball, we just kind of dropped it from there, right? The assumption was. But looking at Radiant's hash rate, it dropped off on the 27th and didn't come back up until the 29th. But there's still a significant amount of hash rate here. Now, they did state, and when I say they, I'm talking about Dragon Ball, they did have maintenance as well at this time. However, Ice River's hosting facility also went down at that time. So the fact that they released an ASIC so quickly for Radiant right after the announcement from Dragon Ball, I'm kind of wondering, like, how long have they been mining Radiant? And I don't think we'll get an answer to that. Maybe somewhere much further down the road we'll get a little bit more of an idea. He says, it wasn't so quickly, they were already there. Can't make a machine with double efficiency in 24 hours. Double the efficiency of the Dragon Ball machines. Yep. I concur. So they've been there a while. The question is, how much hash rate did they have, and was this remaining hash rate here on Radiant actually what is coming from Dragon Ball, and the remaining portion of it what Ice River's got? So looks like Ice River might have a little bit more hash rate than Dragon Ball does. That wouldn't be surprising, especially considering how much more efficient their machines are. And then the other question is, are they hosting those machines at that facility, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe is in Texas, but I don't know for certain. Nobody's confirmed that for me. Yeah, he says Dragon Ball maintenance was to flush out Ice River on Humpool. They smoked them out and forced them to release quickly. Aha. Okay, so there it is. Now we know. And it does look like they're pretty even, but it may in fact be Ice River has had the majority of this hash rate for a little while. You know what? Let's go ahead and pull up Radiant hash rate right now. Little spike here in the last few days. So September 2nd, we're at 182. We got up to 289. Currently sitting at 231. So he said Dragon Ball was on Humpool as well, but they knew of the extra hash rate. The crazy things that happen in crypto, gotta love it. It's hard to keep up with, man. Like, I wish I had the time to make videos for you guys every single day, but like just on my last video talking about the entity, there's so much speculation that goes on, and then within 24 hours, so much news hits. If you guys aren't paying attention to Rabid Mining, Red Panda Mining, Son of a Tech, all those guys, they're keeping up as best they can, and at this point they're having to release like 2 videos a day just to keep you guys up to date. Mining of the North, what's up, my friend? Glad to see you here. Reminder to hit that like, guys. We've got 35 viewers in chat right now. We'll probably go maybe another 20 minutes or so, but let me know, what do you guys want to talk about in chat? I still got all the charts pulled up. We can compare whatever you want to compare. That's weird. Let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin while we're waiting here. Okay, so one thing that I did want to point out again was everybody thinks we've hit an all-time high back here. But if you adjust for inflation, actually we did not hit an all-time high. We were, I think, about 5% below it when you adjust for inflation. So technically Bitcoin hasn't put in an all-time high. But I do expect RSI to come back down to these levels. If you take a look at 2019, so from here to roughly the end of that move, RSI did not come all the way down. It wasn't until we got the COVID scam wick down here that we got pretty close to it. So we could potentially turn things around here, but again, given the macroeconomic situation, I don't see that being the case. Zach says, do you think a S21 Antminer will go down in price during this dip? That's one thing that has surprised me. They have continued to hold their value, and the hash rate has continued to climb. So I would expect them to come down, but I wouldn't be shocked if you don't see much of a price dip. You know what? Let's go ahead and pull up eBay. Let's look at eBay prices, and we'll take a look at a couple of other places. So it's always funny to see what people try and get on eBay for them. So 120 or 195 terahash going for 10.5, 10.5, 30K for 234 terahash. That looks like a scam. S21 Pro 234 terahash, 5,200 bucks. 11.5, 5.5. All right, let's pull up Crypto Miner Bros. So 4,800 bucks for 234 terahash. You know, I could see us coming down to 4,200-ish, maybe. But it all depends on the price of Bitcoin, right? If Bitcoin comes back down into the 40s, which would not shock me, let's say 43-ish area. If network difficulty continues to go up, let's go ahead and look at Bitcoin hash rate. So yeah, I mean, we're pretty much sitting at all-time highs right now. We had a pretty significant dip on July 15th. If we take a look at the chart, and see if July 15th coincides with a significant dip. So that's July 1st, that's the 8th, that's the 15th. So we were actually pumping around the 15th when hash rate went down. But, you know, that this was also like a week after we had a significant move down. So we dropped roughly 25%. And then the following 2 weeks, the hash rate dipped. So, yeah, if we have another 25% dip, then we're probably going to have, you know, a 25% dip in hash rate, which would probably give you about a 20% discount in price on the ASIC. But that's just easy math. Sadie wants to know how my farm is, solar infrastructure and everything. So I'm getting to a point now where it's time to start making some significant changes to the farm. Let me go ahead and pull up what we got going on here for... Actually, I need to take this off screen so you guys don't see my logins for this. Bear with me. Okay. So, taking a look at how things are going so far on the year with solar. Best month was in June, which, if you compare that to the previous year, is actually a little bit different. So my best month last year was actually in July, by a significant amount, actually. So June was 1205 kilowatts hours produced versus 1287, and it usually does about 40 kilowatts a day. It's maybe 45, maybe 50 on a good day. So this particular month outperformed the rest of them, the rest of the summer months, significantly compared to how things are going this year. So it's going okay with the solar. There is a little bit of degradation over the year. I don't know if the panels are just dirty and need to be cleaned, but as far as total kilowatt hours produced by this thing since I installed it, we're at 21,173. And let me pull up my calculator real quick. So when I installed all of this, my current rate was 14 cents per kilowatt hour. So 21,173 times 14 cents per kilowatt hour is $2,964, which is ironic because that means I will have hit return on investment under 3 years, because I spent about $3,000, which is pretty good. But it's I have to quantify it differently now, because whenever I installed solar, that dropped my rate from 14 cents per kilowatt hour to 8 cents per kilowatt hour. So 21,173 kilowatts times 8 cents per kilowatt hour is only $1,700. So by that measurement, I haven't necessarily hit return on investment, but I would never have that rate with the net meter unless I did solar. So I'm still extremely satisfied that I did it, but it's time to add more. And the reason that it's time to add more is because it is time to start expanding the farm. Go ahead and pull up my Hive farm for you real quick, show you guys what I'm currently mining and what's on, what's off. Wow, that is zoomed in. Okay, so majority of the farm is on this. We've got 489 kilohash on Zell. I am, with my AMD cards, I'm mining fish hash and getting paid on nice hash. And then I've got one other farm I can't access because I need to pay the bill right there, but I think all of that is also sitting on Zealous right now. And I'm just trying to accumulate as much Zell as I can at the moment. I sold a pretty significant bag of it whenever we went back up in price about a month ago. So it's time to rebuild that bag as difficulty is dropping a little bit. All right, I need to catch up on chat here. Sorry, guys. As far as BitDeer's BTC miner, I have no idea. I have not kept up with that at all. Which AMD cards do I currently have? The only AMD cards I have, I have mostly RX 6600s, non-XTs, and I think I have a couple of 5600 XTs, but they're currently not in a rig. They're not working at the moment. Even with my current rate, so if I'm producing, we got Panda's farm in here and Millerman's farm in here, so we can't go off this power consumption, but we're using about 2200 watts there. And I can't see this one. It's probably another 1000 watts. But this does not include the Windows stuff going. So I've got a couple of 4070s on Salad right now. They were doing pretty good. Just one of them was making about $5 a day. I added the second one here, and the last couple of days it's not been going well. I don't know what's up with that. It's like all the jobs just disappeared overnight. But I also have my desktop that I'm on right now, which has a 4090 and a 5900 X or 5950X in it. I also have a couple of Jazz miners, like 3 or 4 of those going, and some of this equipment is in my house, and my rate at the house is like 9.5 cents per kilowatt hour. So whenever I'm doing calculations on, let's say for instance, hashrate.no, I usually stick to about 6 cents per kilowatt hour in my calculations here. So when it comes to GPU mining, my 4090 on Conflux would generate about 73, 78 cents a day in revenue and 33 cents a day in profit. 4070 at my current kilowatt hour is going to be, if I can find it, I'm pretty sure I passed it most likely. Yeah, there it is. So Block X, 34 cents a day in revenue, 17 cents a day in profit. Is 17 cents enough a day for you guys to leave your rigs running? I mean, it is for me personally. I mean, if it's over 5 cents, I'm probably going to keep things on. It just makes sense to me because when things get this bad, yield goes up really high. So, 17 cents a day, if that particular coin does a 10x, that's $1.70 a day. That was worth leaving it on. The problem, though, is this. So all of these coins, are just going down. So if I'm making 17 cents a day when a coin is, hitting one of these peaks, but then I lose 50%, that 17 cents a day turned into half that. And it may not necessarily be worth it to continue to mine at that point. I don't know. For me personally, like I said, in March, I started taking profits off the table and just converting things to stable coins. So I've been okay. But, as far as you guys are concerned, if you're going to continue to just hodl that same bag, I do think we probably still see a significant amount of downside on most of these coins for the next few months. But again, I'm just some dude on the internet. I don't know. You have to figure it out for yourself, unfortunately. All right, so chat's slowing down. I think this may be a good place to call it unless you guys have any last questions. Sadie says, I'll go up to a 10% loss for some of the bottomed out coins. Yeah. I mean, if you take a look at, let's say, for instance, Pyron. I mined a significant amount of Pyron probably prior to March, and it looked good. And then I didn't sell Pyron in March. Probably should have. I would have been doing a little bit better. But I rode that bag down a considerable ways before I sold any of that. And so, if I was making 15 cents a day on a 3070, I probably wasn't making 15 cents a day when I sold it. What do I think about the DG Home 1 script miner? I don't follow script miners very well, in all honesty. And most of you guys are probably aware of this. I focus a lot more on GPU, CPU content because when it comes to ASICs, I strongly feel like it's a gamble, right? It's not necessarily a job. I view CPU mining and GPU mining as a job. I have to put in a ton of research. I have to pay attention to things, and I don't mind doing that. When it comes to ASICs, it's great to be able to set it and forget it, but it's like betting on a sports team. They could win or they could lose. Now, script, I think, is probably one of your safer bets. There's a significant amount of coins that you can mine with the script miner. Same thing with jazz miners, and that's why I have jazz miners in my farm. Let's go ahead and pull up hashrate.no real quick. So if we're just going to search through script miners here, it won't let me sort by that. But there's definitely some good DG products out there. I think they're making a name for themselves right now. But you also have to be aware Locotech could come out with something tomorrow that makes everything less efficient. I kind of doubt that. They've been stringing us along for quite a while. Have any of you guys pre-ordered any of those, just out of curiosity? Do I spec mine? Yeah, I spec mine. I spec mine the shit out of things. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to spec mine right now. Um, I went ahead and pulled up the new proof of work coins, and over the last 90 days or 3 months, there's been 53 different new coins that have hit miningpoolstats.stream. And I'm not super impressed with any of them. My most recent spec mine was this coin right here, Telestia AI. And it hasn't done very well, but it also hasn't really hit any major exchanges. So I'll continue to hold that bag. Maybe if they get listed on Trade Ogre, they get a little bit more volume, then we'll start to see some other exchanges pick it up. Spec mining SPR, yes. So I have spec mined a little bit. Some of the salad rigs that I have going have some of my better CPUs in them, so they've been a bit preoccupied at the moment. But like after we get done with this stream, I'll probably throw on this 5950X onto Spectre. Are you not using your 5600 on Iron because you can't get them to work? I can DM you settings or just pull in one of your channels. Let me know. It's really just rearrangement of the cards. So I had to make a lot of changes the other day. Basically, shout out to Millerman if you're out there, but he hooked me up with an Octominer. And so I moved this Octominer bunch of cards in here, which, ooh, temps are getting a little hot on these 100s. So, yeah, when I moved a bunch of cards around, I took the 5600 XTs out and just left the 6600s going. I could throw them in there. One of them's temperamental. Sometimes it gives me like half the hash rate that it should, and then all of a sudden it just kicks back in and acts normal. So, yeah, I haven't worried about it. Dogemon. Is that on miningpoolstats.stream? Let's see. It doesn't look like it. Lord Beerus, where should I check that out at? The pirate. Those CMP cards are cooking. Yeah, they're super hot. I could turn these fans up on the Octominer. We should probably go ahead and do that. But man, there just really isn't much that you can do unless you want to put a blower on the back of these. So these are all sitting out in my shop, and ambient temps right now are probably in the high 90s. So back to Sadie's question earlier about the farm. So I probably am going to start doing a little bit of hosting. My rate is too good not to, but it's probably just going to be for a select few people. The OGs that have been in my Discord and following the channel for a long time, those that have super high power rates, kind of get them out of their bad situation. I may host a few for those guys out there. If you are interested in that, let me know. I may change my plans. I don't know. I've got like a 2,500 square foot shop, but the cooling situation and the air filtration situation needs to be addressed before I really start bringing in anybody else's equipment. I go back to the shop almost daily, blow out the cards, make sure things are okay. But when it comes to hosting somebody else's equipment, I can't really just do that in my own leisure. It's something that I need to pay attention to, because I wouldn't want anybody that I'm hosting for to have downtime, and I don't want their equipment to get dirty. I want everything to stay spotless and clean. I want to be able to show it on the channel, and for that reason I'm going to make some significant changes back there. I'll basically be building a large room, probably like a 12 by 12, but I've got some pretty significant plans for air filtration and cooling. I'm going to do geothermal. Basically what I'm going to do is bury a 500-foot PEX hose in the ground, probably about 6 to 8 feet deep, and then that line will be pumped with the circulating pump through a very large radiator with some huge fans. And I'm hoping to have several thousand CFM just pumping air, cool air through that thing constantly. But it's going to be a significant amount of work. It's not going to happen overnight. So probably not going to be in the next 30 days before you guys start to see anything being done on that. And by that time, it's probably going to be nice and cool. But yeah, I'll get to it when I get to it. Ecopool has a mining pool for Dojamon. Okay. Please geothermal vids. Yeah. I think I might have made a video with some drawings of what I plan on doing. But yeah, I will totally keep you guys in the loop as I start to do that. Alright guys, I think I'm going to call it. We've been going for a pretty good while now, about an hour and a half, so I've got some things I've got to tend to. I do appreciate each and every single one of you for being here. Please be sure to hit that like button, and if I've got any new people out there, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And we'll start doing these a little bit more consistently. I was planning on doing them Thursday because nobody was doing any live streams on Thursday, but then Hawk kind of slid into that spot because nobody else had it. So I don't know, maybe tell me in the comments below what's a good day to do some streams. I figured today was a good day to go on after Red Panda and RPM, or Red Panda and Rabid. But 2 o'clock, Central Time may be good for you guys, may not be. Maybe I need to start a little bit earlier and go before Rabid comes on. But yeah, whatever works for you guys, just let me know. Anyways, that's it. I will catch you guys on the next